At the tight end position still, with the depth at wide receiver, it's hard for me not to want to see a 4-wide look, even though I don't think that's what Josh Heupel is comfortable with. Will we see that this year?
So we kind of debated this morning, funny enough, when we were wondering how is Tennessee going to do their rotation. Here's how I think they're going to do it. I think Tennessee is going to run 3 wide receivers and Ethan Davis one drive, and then they'll run 4 wide receivers the other drive. And I think that's how they're going to start doing it this year. I don't think they are that confident in the transfer tight ends they brought in yet. And they don't have a blocking tight end like they had in Jacob Warren last year. So I think they're better off spreading the field with going 4 wide, and then with 4 wide receivers, and then having Ethan Davis in on the other drive. I think that's how they rotate out.
Here's why I like that. And it has to do with a couple of different players. Also, we'll have the comeback player of the year. Tennessee's wide receiver rotation, including tight ends, brought to you by Medicare Misty, no charge and regulated in over 40 states. Tennessee's tight ends, wide receivers, who I like based off conversations with sources. And in 30 seconds, I'll give you that.
19 years this year. I've been in the community since 1993. You're getting a lot of information. Unlike when you were working, they made the choice for you. Now you have to make the choice. Come to us and let us help you make it easy. Call Medicare Misty, MedicareMisty.com or 423-777-5577. Let us help them sleep at night.
And we call her Medicare Misty.
Again, no charge for Medicare Misty services. Caleb, I am not willing to predict what Tennessee does in their pass catcher rotation just yet. So we're including tight ends. These aren't just receivers because I don't think they know. I think Stays and Kitzelman are still learning the system. What I think about Kitzelman is that he is going to be solid when he's on the field. I don't think he's going to make a lot of mistakes. I just think his upside is okay. I think the key is Ethan Davis, to be honest with you, whether or not they go a lot of 4 wide or not. If they feel great about Ethan Davis, I think it's typical one offense, which is 1 running back, a tight end, 3 wide receivers. Ethan Davis, to me, determines he's kind of a crossroads of this offense.
He is. And Heupel's really only turned a tight end heavily one time ever as an offensive coach, and it was when he was at Missouri in 2017. And he had that tight end whose last name that I cannot pronounce. So it started with an O, and I never got it right. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to say it here.
At least you're honest.
Yes. So I will say that he might see that in Ethan Davis this year. That would be a huge plus for Tennessee if he can do that. And now the question becomes, has Ethan Davis picked up blocking schemes? Because that's going to be crucial for tight ends, because particularly when you don't know if you have a running back that can pick up pass pro, although Cam Seldon is good at pass pro. I haven't taken that away from him. He just has Ray Charles vision when he takes the ball and tries to find the hole. But I think Ethan Davis, that would be the question. Because one of the things you like to do with the tight end, right, Dave? You still, even in Heupel's system with the wide splits, you want to work with you want to be able to keep the defense guessing a little bit on what the tight end's going to do. Is he going to stay back and block, or is he going to break out? That's still a factor in football, right? Even with the spread off, even with the way offenses are spread out today, guessing what the tight end's going to do.
Yeah, the thing that's scary about Tennessee, if they have Ethan Davis, if he accepts this role as a star, and I'm not talking about just as a good underclassman, because he redshirted last year. Technically he's still a redshirt freshman, but he's had a year. He's put on like 40 pounds, and he makes Tennessee incredibly tough to predict. Because let's go back. Who's Tennessee's second best slot receiver to Jalen Hyatt? Under Heupel.
Under Heupel, their second, the one who was behind Jalen Hyatt when.
No, just second best in his 4 years. Second best slot receiver.
Velus Jones Jr. Velus Jones.
Okay. I think Ethan Davis can threaten an offense in the passing game as much as Bayless Jones, unless they switch to dime coverage. Now, flip side.
But if they switch to dime coverage, Tennessee can run all day down the field on you with that way they run that offense.
Can he run block? And I think with the added weight, he can.
That's the big question. Correct.
Right. So if
So
you have, go ahead.
are we agreeing that do you think it's Davis and 4 wide, or do you think it's Davis and then the other drives they'll do Kittelman and stays? Because we know Davis isn't going to play every drive. Heupel doesn't play tight ends every drive, the same tight end every drive. He's never done that.
No, I think it'll end up alternating between Stays and Davis. I think that'll be your alternation when the games matter in November, and it'll be some Kittelman in the early months. That's my projection based off what I have been told. Now, I'm hearing Brazel may have took Thornton's starting spot. I do want to talk about Thornton specifically, but I'm not sure that's the case. I think he may have taken his slot receiver spot, but I think Thornton still has a spot. The show represented by Banks and Jones. Banks and Jones, we appreciate them. Banks and Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, and unbelievable because they play to win. Other attorneys do not want to go to trial, but Banks and Jones, T. Scott Jones will do that. Banks and Jones. Caleb, as far as the receiver rotation, I also believe that you'll see Dante Thornton at the outside wide receiver spot instead of the slot. And I think there was a reason that Dante Thornton played slot last year. I'm going to defend Josh Heupel for a second because you were a little bit critical of him for misevaluating that talent. I think Tennessee was uncomfortable with their other slot receivers other than Squirrel White. And he was forced to play some other positions at times in which he wasn't very comfortable. So I think Tennessee, and if Ramel Keaton's your baseline, I think Tennessee was a little short on receivers last year.
Injuries played a huge role in that. So I would agree.
Yes.
Here's what I think the goal is this year. And this is why I think they're going to do Ethan Davis one drive and go 4 wide the next. They're going to have their penciled in starters being Brew McCoy and Squirrel White. That's set, right? At wide out and slot.
Right. Yes.
I think they want to alternate Mike Matthews, Chris Brazel, and Dante Thornton on the other side. And it's easier to alternate like that if you go 4 wide every other drive. So we talked about this the other day. Does Tennessee want to go deeper at receiver? Maybe Heupel's going to split the baby. He has his clear-cut go-to and his clear-cut slot guy, but he's going to split the rest of them to where they're all going to get a lot of yards. Maybe that's how he goes about this.
Okay, but there's one problem with that. You're dealing with a first-time, and I know the Iowa game, you're dealing with a first-time starter at quarterback. So
what is this, the 90s? Who cares?
Well, are you gonna start running multiple looks in an offense, a 4 wide and a 3 wide look? See, I mean, you're gonna have to be comfortable in a totally different look. And you're talking about some young receivers too. Are you too young to go 4 wide is worth the conversation.
That's a fair point at receiver. If Nico gets confused by doing that, given how easy this offense is to figure out, and given the fact that he's now entering his second year, or actually he's already been working in the offense for almost 2 years now. If Nico gets confused by that, he's got major issues. This is the easiest offense in football to figure out. Heupel's whole system is read a safety. And as long as the quarterback and receiver read the safety the same way, there are no issues. So it shouldn't matter if you go with an extra tight end or an extra receiver. If they can't figure that out, then Nico is not what I think Nico is going to be.
And you think he is?
A generational quarterback created in a lab to run Josh Heupel's system. Josh Heupel met with an evil comic book scientist and said, "Create me a quarterback." And what popped out of the lab was Nico Iamaleava.
All right. Well, Tennessee has a lot of quarterbacks now. And Trevor points out this is pro football. No more too young stuff. Trevor, you bring up a great point. I was doing a Nashville radio show, and they said, "What's with them taking all of these quarterbacks?" And I said, well, what do you mean? And they said, well, they can't play all of them. So what are they telling them in recruiting? I'm like, they're telling them they're getting a job. I mean, coming out of high school, probably making 6 digits is probably entry-level NIL. And if they don't like Knoxville because they don't play enough or they get asked to leave, they've made money. I have no sympathy for that person anymore. Used to be, I would have fought to the hilt for the player. They're getting paid.
I agree. I have no qualms about lighting players up now.
Yeah,
And I love it.
The host is like, oh, I guess that's a good point.